Hey guys, so thanks for tuning in. The goal of this conversation is to shine light on a topic that is often overlooked in the FA industry: mental health. Many advisors face stress, burnout, emotional fatigue, and identity pressure, but they rarely talk about it openly. We always talk about production, activity, targets, and results, but we seldom talk about the emotional and mental load behind all of that. Over the years, I've seen advisors work extremely hard, and some push through stress quietly. Some look strong on the outside, but inside they're burning out. They just carry everything on their own. And I realized that mental health is the real factor in our performance, our relationships, and how long we can last in this industry. That's why I started this interview series, because I truly believe that healthier advisors bring healthier teams and have healthier and more fulfilling careers. And I hope you enjoy the episode today. Okay, so today I'm having this conversation with Venetta. I'll introduce her in a while. She's a psychologist. I'll elaborate that in a while. So basically, we're having this convo because as a financial advisory leader in the industry over the last 8 years, and of course, being a financial advisor, practicing serving clients over the last 8 years, I have realized that mental health is something that is not really discussed about. Yeah. And this industry, there are a lot of agencies that are run by very older generation leaders as well. So mental health is quite a foreign concept to them. Yeah, I feel because the older generation just grinded their way through without thinking about, am I stressed? Am I burnout? They just did everything they could to do well in the industry. So as after coaching 500 advisors over the last 8 years, I see a big gap in the industry that we're not talking about mental health enough. Yeah, so that's why I'm having Venetta on this interview today. So thanks for being here, Van. Yeah,
Thanks.
so just a quick intro of Van. Van is a psychologist at an adult disability center, and she runs a Singapore-based platform called psychaven.sg. You all can follow to share about bite-sized information about psych and mental health topics, from parenting to stress to burnout and everything else. So she also has a master's degree in clinical psychology. Yeah. So right now we're going to dive into the questions so that everyone can learn from this conversation. So Van, maybe we start off from here lah. So from your perspective, right, what makes mental health challenges in the FA industry unique compared to other professions, from what you know? Yeah.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of conversations, with like different peers in the industry, and I see that there are a lot of different actually unique challenges and
Yeah.
like stress points that you guys face. Maybe just to touch on a few. I think compared to like other jobs where they have more like 9 to 5, so
Yeah.
your boundaries, your time, your working
Yeah.
hours are very, very blurred,
Yeah.
right? Like
Very
sometimes you
flexible.
get
Yeah.
calls at night at 3
Yeah.
a.m. and then and I think also even in terms of relationship, those lines can be blurred where maybe your friends become your clients, family members become
Yeah. Yeah.
clients. So I think that can actually put on additional pressure in terms of like, meeting expectations and things like that. Also a lot, you guys are also like, I guess, exposed to a lot of unpredictability, right? So like change volatile market conditions, changing client circumstances and
Wow.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure whether maybe you guys you can share a little bit more about, how does that impact you?
Wow. When you spell that out, I it makes me realize how many varying factors we have in our lives. Yeah. So I'm always on my phone because when I cannot control when a client goes to hospital or suddenly a client has a very urgent question, right? So even when now it's a weekend, it's a Sunday. Yeah, if I'm out with my family, I can't just be like, okay, work is work. I'm just not gonna touch my phone. So yeah, that creates some anxiety sometimes. Yeah. And yeah, like, and then when the market can crash tomorrow on Monday, yeah, and then we have to quickly jump on it and communicate to all clients and also worry about what clients will say from there. Yeah. And working hours, yeah, because especially like I'm married to my wife who is normal corporate hours. So
Mm.
I always feel bad having Zoom calls on weekday nights after dinner when actually we could have spent quality time together. Yeah. So I think I relate to it quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mean these are only like one or two touch points that we talk about, but there's so many more, right? So I
Yeah.
guess if like people get exposed to even more, it becomes even more challenging. Also, I think your kind of outcomes are very tied to how much effort you put in, right?
Yeah.
So and a lot so it's very, very competitive industry that you guys are in actually. If I'm not wrong, there's always a lot of like new targets that you all need to meet, and even
Mm.
your own salary is tied to how much effort you put. So
Yeah.
I think there can be a lot of guilt that maybe
Yes.
people in your industry may experience if let's say, oh, I'm relaxing today, I'm not seeing a
Yes.
client today,
Yeah.
that But then, oh my gosh, it means that it will affect my
Yeah,
income
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
So
very, very stressful. Yeah.
I think I've been suffering. I don't know. I think I'm a lot better now. I hope, but I've been suffering from this thing called. I read about it. It's called productivity anxiety. Yeah,
Mm,
where if I don't do something, I feel like I'm wasting my time. Yeah,
mm.
if a very interesting and very sad example is when I was on honeymoon last time, right? When I got married, lah. Then I promised my team, right, every day I'll send them a video to give them advice on their business. And then my wife took the video of me. Yeah.
Oh my
But when I
goodness.
think of it at that point of time, right, it's then ridiculous that I even found the need to do that. Yeah. So this part on productivity anxiety, what do you think about that from what you know? Yeah.
So I think it's very, very tied to what we believe is productive, right? Maybe for us, for you guys, maybe productive is tied to like work,
Yes.
right? But actually, productivity can actually be about other things as well, like
Like,
maybe
yeah.
spending time with your wives, or like spending time with friends, connecting with friends, and all, or even pursuing an interest that is not work related, but that is also productive.
What about like rest, watching shows, just doing nothing?
Yes, I think also that is also considered productive because you're actually trying to rejuvenate yourself,
Okay.
right? Yeah, I think sometimes it's very productive. Productivity anxiety is very related to like the perception you have about rest as well.
Yeah.
Right? So I think this is something that a lot of I think Singaporeans struggle
It's
with.
not only our industry.
Rest it means like lazy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Rest means that
Yeah.
you're not gonna like succeed in things. But actually, when you have adequate rest, eventually you become more productive.
Mm.
Yeah.
So just for redefining what is productivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in school, productivity to us was studying,
Yeah.
going to school.
Doing
But
10-year series, that kind.
yeah, and then if you don't study, you are considered you're not actually matching expectations of what model students should be lah.
Yeah, yeah.
Which brings me to my point, if I think about it, then how do we draw the line between because you can keep telling ourselves that okay, I'm not going to because FA I mean for self-employed businesses, you can decide how you want to work. So what if I take a whole week break and I enjoy it so much? I just keep telling myself that this is productive because I'm treating myself well. So how do we psychologically draw the line whether we know how much is considered enough rest? Yeah.
Mm, I think firstly we need to at the start ask ourselves, how are we feeling at this point of time? Am I
Mm,
feeling burnout and does it warrant me to take a step away from work and have
mm,
that week-long break? Right. So I think that requires us to be more familiar with okay, what are the symptoms of burnout and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah, so then if let's say, we are actually doing okay, coping well with stress, but then we are still taking breaks, then maybe that is a bit different.
So it
A bit
starts from
different.
self-awareness first. You must listen to your body and know whether
Correct.
you are suffering through something, you're going through something.
Yeah, yeah, for
Some
sure.
symptoms that you can elaborate about so that we can catch ourselves more. Yeah.
So maybe some symptoms of burnout would be feeling exhausted all the time. Like you just feel like you don't want to do anything. Work feels like a dread. Then there's this cynicism towards work lah. Like, oh my gosh, I have to work again. I need to like
Okay.
one small things you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. Yeah, so things like that. So and then also kind of looking at like your daily life. How's your eating? Is your sleep good or have you been
Mm,
having very poor sleep?
mm.
How's your mood? Have you been in a good mood or
Irritable.
have you been more irritable?
Take. Yeah.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
shade.
Yeah.
Small thing your wife say to you, then you just like
Yeah.
outburst, that
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so being mindful of all these things and then yeah, being aware of all these things and then trying to like see what needs to be done differently so that you can, prevent burnout or, get out of that cycle lah. Yeah.
Okay, so if I like to summarize this part, it would be first step one, ask yourself and spend time noticing the symptoms that you have. If
Mm.
you don't have symptoms, don't overthink it and take a break just because we want to take the easy way out. I think we can continue doing what we're doing. But if those symptoms that you talked about and others come up, we should have the courage to slow down, take a break when we want to, because that is productive to recover to get ourselves to the state that we want to.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. I have quite a few FA friends who cannot fall asleep at night. They struggle to fall asleep a lot. And some of them, you know them actually. So, when I question whether they are using phone to the last minute, they say no. Like they actually put their phone aside, but they toss and turn for 2-3 hours before sleeping. And it's
Mm.
very torturous to them. It affects how they feel when they wake up. And they bash themselves in the next morning because they wake up late and then they feel like, oh shit, I didn't show up for the meeting, I didn't go for the training, and then there's a vicious cycle. So thinking about insomnia, yeah, will stress in this industry affect how whether our ability to sleep at night? Yeah.
For sure, it will to a certain extent. I mean, of course, insomnia is affected by and caused by a lot of different factors. But I think one thing that I can think about is that probably their mind is just very, very active
Mm,
at night.
mm,
Right? But yeah, like you mentioned, you don't know when the client is suddenly gonna call you
yeah.
3 a.m. They're always kind of like ready to just jump into work mode. So they're not really resting. So probably like, even when they lay down, when you're trying to sleep, actually, that's when your brain is it's free, right? So actually
A
you need to
lot.
think a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would ultimately lead to insomnia. So then, but it's really also the brain kind of like tell you the brain is the role of the brain is to help tell you about like different danger, tell you about
Mm,
things to worry about,
yes.
right? So that's why maybe I feel like in those times it's also important for the individual to kind of like just thank your brain and say, okay, thank you, mind, for telling me about about this I need to worry about.
Ah,
But now, it's not the time for me to be worrying about this. I'll think about it when I wake up. Yeah, so it's kind of like you need to retrain your brain,
wow. Okay.
the rewiring of your brain as well.
So it's like when your worries and anxiety come, I think those people that constantly be in a state of they're not able to sleep because they might be judging themselves for thinking about these things, and they tell themselves, I want to stop thinking about all this, but they continue thinking about it, and that might bother them even more and make it harder to fall asleep.
Yeah. So that could be one way, but the other one could also be they're actually trying to like think of they're thinking of the problem, trying to think of ways to like
Solve
solve
them.
problems. Yeah. So that keeps the mind very, very active. Yeah.
So it's about training yourself to have to actually have a relate your thoughts to something else compared to I mean like what you said, be thankful for your thoughts.
So I like so sometimes I also struggle with insomnia. So,
Yeah.
and because I also have a very overactive brain at night
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I see it as my brain trying to help me, to problem solve problems. So I always tell, because I feel like the more we try not to think about it, actually the more you think about it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So I always there's this technique that I call it thank you mind.
Oh,
Right. So I'll just be like, okay, thank you, mind, for telling me that, I need to solve this problem now because you're acknowledging that
yeah.
there's this thing that you need to resolve. Right. So once you kind of acknowledge it, then you kind of like park it aside. Then you allow yourself to have that rest.
Yeah, because I think if you thank your mind, there's no actionable after that. There's no like thank you and let's do this. There's no
You can have, for some people that
okay.
might work, right? You can be,
Okay.
thank you. I'll think about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but at least you're not trying to suppress it.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging it, and then you're putting like an action plan that you will do it tomorrow
Yeah.
instead.
So it's an
Yeah.
actual technique, this thank you mind thing.
Yeah, it's a technique under ACT therapy. Yeah.
Act
So
therapy.
yeah, ACT, acceptance and commitment
Oh
therapy.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, okay. I never knew that. Yeah. So
I find it helpful because you're acknowledging, your own worries and struggles rather than suppressing it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think most people suppress it and that leads them to feel even more anxious. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'll talk to my friend about this soon now when we have this conversation. So
Mm.
to summarize the whatever we discussed so far about what kind of mental health challenges in my industry that I'm involved in is unique compared to other professions. You said blurred boundaries, yeah,
Yeah.
working hours, friends becoming clients. That's something that I struggle with as well. And in my first 5 years, I never talked to my best friends about serving them in their portfolio because I found it weird, like to change something. Like, I'm so close. The closer I am to them, the weirder it is for me to tell them I like to serve them, even though I believe in my value. Yeah,
Mm.
so I think I struggled with that for many years. You mentioned unpredictability, yeah, and of course client interactions and rejection and accountability to clients constantly together with deadline, plus
Mm.
productivity anxiety. All this coming together in similarly to other high pressure industries lead to mental health challenges, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so I think segueing from that, I find myself and my friends being very constantly stimulated. Yeah, by
Mm.
calls, meetings, social media, also results, a lack of results, competition, having recognition, and even I myself. I mean, for quite a while, I was when I'm driving, right, and I don't on music, it's very silent. I find myself gravitating towards touching my phone whenever the traffic light comes. Because I just kept wanting to do it. It became a habit that I couldn't stop myself from doing. And I realized it's because I'm not used to not being stimulated. Yeah.
Mm.
So how does overstimulation affect mental health over time? What do you think? Yeah.
I think it's quite similar to what we discussed just now about how you guys are like maybe probably in that permanent work mode, right? And also linked to productivity anxiety that if you're not doing something, even if it means like, not touching your phone to like see whether any client message you, I think it's very linked to all these. So when you have anxiety, you're trying to do something to alleviate the
To
anxiety,
avoid the thoughts.
to avoid the thoughts, to reduce the anxiety levels. So
Mm.
do all these kind of different behaviors to try to reduce that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think very tied into to those two lah, being on work mode and then that productivity, anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not healthy, right? Just to get it clear.
So long term might not have the best impact. So I think here it's good to talk about like when you talk about stimulation, probably also about stress. So we can talk about stress as a whole, right? So actually there's good stress and bad stress.
Yeah.
So actually all of us need a certain amount of stress every day to get up from bed, to go
Mm.
brush our
Yeah.
teeth,
Yeah.
to run some errands to
Yeah.
work. And so usually good stress, is something that motivates you, it feels quite manageable, gives you a sense of purpose, help you grow. But over time, if let's say stresses start to accumulate, right? And then you're often overstimulated, but then you don't have the coping strategies to like manage it, or you're not actually taking proper self-care, doing proper self-care, then that can lead into bad stress
Mm.
and burnout. So then you start to feel overwhelmed, everything feels like, you numb yourself so that you don't feel the distress, you're like always fatigued. Over time, then that will lead to burnout, like, which is where the cynicism towards work,
Mm. Mm.
reduction in productivity, all we start to see all of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
So there's good stress and bad stress. Good stress motivates you, empowers you to do things, while bad stress leads you to be cynical, damn sian, and affects your mood and might in turn affect the relationship of people around you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Accumulated bad stress, like if
Yeah.
it's not well managed.
Um, so right, when I multitask, okay, like when I text at every traffic light, I get stuff done by the time I reach my destination. So when I was younger, at 25 years old, I found that I felt very proud of this habit of mine. Like, wow, I reply all the messages by the time I reach my workplace, so that I don't have to spend more time replying when I reach. So it was a good feeling. Like I felt like I was, and people kept praising me and say, you can do so many things in one day. Well, how do you do so many things in one day? Then it fed my habit of doing it even more until I started having an anxiety attack. Maybe like when I was 29 years old. Yeah,
Mm.
like I started having heart palpitations for no reason. It felt like no reason. Yeah, like I'm talking to a friend right now, and suddenly my heart will beat very fast, and then I'm panic, and I might faint while talking to a friend. Yeah, so that's why I
Mm.
started asking myself what's going on. So hearing that example, will you say that at the very start when I felt very, was it because I was not aware of how my body was and the stress I was accumulating, or was it actually healthy for me to be doing that at that point of time? What do you think? Yeah.
Firstly, I think you mentioned messaging on the road. I think my first concern is like safety.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like your safety is at risk
Yeah.
here.
Logically is wrong actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even at traffic lights is red, right? But logically I shouldn't. I should be focusing, right? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Safe.
yeah.
So it is fundamentally already dangerous, right? Okay.
Dangerous,
Okay.
correct. Yeah, like what are you risking to have that productivity? Yeah. But throwing the question back to you, were you aware of how your body was telling you at that point of
No, I
time?
don't remember having any symptoms. To me, it was, and I was like, I was top in the whole agency. I was doing well. And I was still, I was still like exercising. I felt like I had my whole life together. So,
Mm.
but I wasn't really having conversations with myself about how I was feeling. Like to me, tiredness is a sign of weakness. So I wasn't registering how tired I was. Even if
Mm.
I was tired, I was proud of it. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's very tied to that belief
Okay.
that you have, right? That perception that, oh, fatigue is something to be proud of. I'm working hard. You're making me successful. But I guess the question is really at what cost, right? Like, is this feeling of fatigue really worth it lah?
Mm, mm,
Yeah. And
And
long term, what how will it impact you? Like it
yeah,
might lead you to start having those panic attacks.
yeah.
Yeah, and that high expectations that you place on yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I relate very much to that. So I would say that nobody can survive with overstimulation, constant overstimulation for a long period of time and end up being okay. Would you say that?
I would say it's not healthy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not encouraged. Yeah, because I think I like to imagine that we all have like this bucket. Not sure whether you've heard of the stress bucket analogy
Oh,
so we all have like this bucket, which is basically the amount of stress that we can tolerate, right? Everybody's bucket is of a different size. So every small little stressor that we experience adds water into it lah.
this
So
bucket, yeah.
yeah, so over time, if let's say we are not doing things to drain the water out, drain the stresses out, eventually we will all the bucket will overflow and we will all become overwhelmed. So it's really like over time, if you're not taking care of yourself and your bucket overflows, then yeah, you'll become overwhelmed lah. So
Okay.
yeah.
So something more sustainable would be to going back to the point of what is productivity. Some like example, if I go for a run, I
Mm.
used to listen to podcasts all the time, and then I feel good doing it again. Um, is there value in just running without being stimulated by anything, just doing things without, or maybe just doing nothing, like staring into space, just letting the thoughts come in? Because I find myself wanting to scroll Instagram once uncomfortable thoughts come. Yeah.
Mm.
So are there like healthy exercises we can include in our day or in our week to actively not to actively yeah, just practice doing nothing? Or what would you advise? Yeah.
So
To help with this.
I think one technique that's very good is mindfulness.
Mm. Yeah, I
Right.
hear that
So
we hear that a lot, right, over the last 5 years. So what does that actually mean? Yeah.
so mindfulness is actually really about being present in the moment. And it's being present and aware of what thoughts come into your mind, what is going through and happening in your body. Yeah, the idea is to not kind of like push away the thoughts, but it's really to just sit with the thoughts, sit with whatever feelings you're having. Yeah, because I think a lot of times we, like what you said, we just want to do things to push away those like thoughts that are distressing and whatnot. But actually what we need to learn is to learn to sit with the emotions, sit with the thoughts, let it come, let it go as well. So we're trying to retrain our attention, how we cope with the different thoughts in the head. Because we have a million and one thoughts that come into our
Yeah.
brain we cannot control, right?
Yes.
We can't really control, what we can control is how we relate to the thoughts. Do we want to keep thinking about it or do we want to acknowledge it and just let it go? Yeah, so mindfulness, and I think people have a misconception that mindfulness is to help you relax. But that's actually not the main goal
Okay.
of mindfulness. It's really learning to be present, learning to sit with, whatever feelings we have in this point of time, yeah, whatever thoughts that we have. So it's changing the way we relate to our thoughts, changing the way we relate to, the physiological feelings that we are having as well.
So
Yeah.
for people listening to this, they when if they're not very familiar and in tune with their mental health, they'll be thinking, what's the value of being sitting with my thoughts? Like, why? What's the outcome I can get from that? How does it help me? Yeah.
Mm. So mindfulness helps you to develop that self-awareness that I think we
Back to like, how am I really feeling now?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Because I think when we are so busy with life, right, it's very easy to just keep pushing away,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
different thoughts that you don't want to have. But then eventually the bucket will accumulate and then
Okay.
just
Yeah.
explode before we know it. But then when we practice mindfulness, we're actually doing a lot of like regular check-ins with ourselves. Like
Mm.
am I feeling it now? Am I experiencing any stressor right now that, maybe I can take active steps to kind of like cope with and things, or even just asking, am I actually doing self-care right now? Yeah, so it's really just providing us the opportunity to take regular breaks and to check in and be more aware of ourselves. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I get it now. So let me think of an example of a consultant that I know. So she hasn't been doing well in her sales this year. Yeah. And she was in a state of, I think she stayed at home a lot more compared to coming to the office and hanging out in the right environment. She found herself being at home a lot. And of course, whenever I ask her as a leader, like, how are you doing? She will say, I mean, I'm okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just figuring things out. Okay. So she constantly says okay. This is one specific example, but there are many similar examples. And the only time where they look for help is when they really break down. Like they wait to a point where they really realize, and usually it's towards the end of the year where the deadline of their sales is coming, and then they would start to reach out for help at that point of time, which made me wonder what could I have done beforehand to help them, or what could they have done for themselves to help them realize that they were already going through things and they needed to have that conversation with themselves earlier. Because what they do when they are uncomfortable, they doom scroll a lot. They just stay at home, just watch shows. Like I think they really just do nothing. And not do nothing. They do things at home to pass time. Yeah.
Mm.
So would you say my question would be, yeah, what could she have done earlier to increase that sense of mindfulness earlier in the year? Yeah, when she found herself acting differently than before. Yeah,
I think the first question would be, was she aware that she was behaving differently?
I
In
don't
the
think so. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
but I think it's very good that actually you were able to observe that difference in her. Then I guess, yeah, as a leader, maybe how to support her is being curious about her, just having a conversation with her, like, how are you doing really?
yeah.
You say you're okay, but we do see that you're a
What
bit
I
more
observe.
withdrawn. Yeah, observe
Yeah,
that you're a bit more withdrawn. Are there just be curious and very open and non-judgmental with
yeah,
her so that she feels that, it's a safe space to be able to share her struggles. Yeah, and then I think developing self-awareness takes time, right? So I think it's also, if let's say, the company can create a culture where, actually maybe you do mindfulness at the start of every meeting so that everybody can, be a bit more in touch with how they are doing. Yeah, just to build that culture of being aware and being proactive with your mental health rather
yeah.
than reactive, that only when you break down then you
Mm,
that you, like ask for help.
mm. So as a leader, because we are very involved with and very, I mean, we can see how they are leading their lives every day. So I think we can take it upon ourselves to share whenever we observe something is going off,
Mm.
something is off lah, and tell and verbalize it to them. But of course, before that, the expectation has to be set that it's a safe space, and we're not asking to push them to perform. We're asking because we truly want to understand.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
then yeah.
Okay, and would you say that if we have this conversation and they manage to verbalize how they're feeling, they might not even have been aware about this before this conversation? Yeah.
Mm.
Like it's like therapy, right? Like you go to therapy and sometimes when you say things, you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I was going through this. Yeah.
Mm.
Then without the leader, or I guess the culture of mindfulness can help them to discover it within themselves, even without the leader having that convo with them, right?
That can
Okay.
help lah. Yeah, it can help. Yeah,
Okay.
but sometimes having an external party just to also ask them questions to get them thinking about how they are feeling at all
Mm,
definitely helps lah. Yeah.
okay. Okay. Makes sense. Okay. Maybe just I always felt like if I'm a therapist, I'll be able to understand my associates a lot more. What are some questions we can ask them to make them self-reflect about? Provided it's a safe space, self-reflect about whatever they are going through. What are some things I can ask them? Yeah.
Mm. I think very simple questions like, how are you feeling at this point of time? How's your body? Where are you feeling the emotion in your body right now? Are you feeling fatigue all the time? How's your sleep? How's your eating? Yeah, how's your relationships going? Yeah, just
Okay.
asking them about like different parts of their life and to see whether, are you happy with it? How it is right now? Yeah.
So it's actually not that complicated. It's
Not really.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like a structured way to HT to help them like realize like, oh my God, this is what's happening. But just being genuinely curious.
Yeah, just being genuinely curious about how they're living their life and just wanting to understand the person. I think it would be helpful if you kind of like imagine if someone was talking to you, what kind of questions do you think would be helpful for you?
Mm.
So then you can
Well,
ask
that's
them more.
challenging to think about usually when you think of like what questions would I like to answer? Why would be useful for me? Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Or then I think some people will feel like I don't want to tell my boss so many things. So would that be because of a lack of safe space, you think? Yeah.
It could be, yeah. Or it could also be maybe that individual naturally is more
private. Yeah.
private, don't really wish to share, yeah, these parts of their life. Yeah, but I think if let's say we can create that psychological safety and encourage people to share, then even if it's just at the start sharing just one small piece of
Yeah.
their day, then gradually, then hopefully they will become more open as they learn that actually the environment is really supportive. No one is here to judge. No one is here. Everyone is here to really like help you through your struggles,
Yeah.
and that everyone has their own struggles as well. It's like it's not
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
you. Yeah, so I think as leaders, normalizing that you guys also have your own struggles, sharing that experience, how you guys cope with it can also contribute to that sense of psychological safety and build that culture as
So
well.
that people feel that we are relatable, and when we are relatable, they will be more willing to share. Compared
Yeah.
to you will never understand what I'm going through. Your life is so perfect.
Yeah, your life is so good. You're already
Yeah, but
like,
no, yeah, everyone is struggling. Yeah, they need to know
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay. Quite interesting point where I never considered this before. Like before a coaching session, training session, group setting, you can practice a mindfulness thing. How what's that? How does that look like? Like meditation? Or what are some examples? Yeah.
So there are actually a lot of mindfulness videos on YouTube, and also like on Spotify podcasts. So they can be as short as like 3 minutes to as long as like 15 minutes. So yeah, and just going online and just searching and just playing. So there are some that helps to help stress, there are some that helps to help you guys refocus. So even if let's say you have a 2 hour meeting, maybe after 1 hour you can do one short mindfulness to just help everyone like refocus and things like that. So it's having all these, including all these micro practices in like your day to day. Yeah.
I don't, as far as I know, I don't think many companies do such things, right? From what you know, lah. Is it that are there more companies who support their employees' mental health in this way, or do you think that a majority of them do not, based on your understanding? Yeah.
Very hard for me to answer this because I
Mm.
think there are a lot of different companies out there. But what I do know is that a lot more companies are taking more active steps to kind of strengthen this part of supporting mental health
Mm.
for their client, for their employees lah. So
Yeah.
I see that there are a lot more companies hiring psychologists to give talks on mental health,
Yeah.
teach
I see that more
self-care,
as well. Yeah.
that. So that is very, very encouraging for sure. But whether or not they are actually incorporating these micro practices into their day life, then that one I'm not really sure. Yeah. But good if let's say they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the sales industry, I think many leaders would feel that is there really ROI from including mental health conversations into coaching when actually the associate just needs to get their life together and start doing the things they're supposed to do. Yeah. But I think they know what they need to do, but there are a lot of things holding them back, and it's mostly psychological. Yeah. So I think from this conversation I learned that that step zero that we have to take is very crucial. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's
And
important to know that an individual is really impacted by different like their physical health and
yeah,
their mental health as well. Like if there's no physical health, no mental health, you won't have your work
yeah. It's
productivity
all
as well.
intertwined, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all affected. So yeah.
Okay. To conclude this point about leaders creating psychological safety, some people listening to this, they have never spoken about mental health to their associates, many of them. So how can they start creating this psychological safety for their associates? Like how do they start setting the expectation, especially as 2026 is coming? I think it'll be a
Mm.
good time to reset expectations. How do you visualize this to look like? Yeah.
So I think some pointers, simple pointers that we can start to practice, or you guys can start to practice, is really like I mentioned, leaders modeling their openness and vulnerability. So sharing your experiencing, normalizing that you guys also have your own struggles. So I think that's a very important factor, yeah, to creating that culture, and also kind of avoid the culture of shaming and like language that stigmatize things. Like you mentioned, hey, don't weak lah, like
Yeah,
fatigue
yeah,
is
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
weakness. Like no, let's not use those language. Let's change it and be more strength focused as well. And yeah, and then also incorporating those micro practices like
Yeah.
the 5 minute check-ins or mindfulness practice before the start of every meeting, or even just simple things like, oh, can you like use one word to describe how you feel about this week? Or like at the end of every meeting, we make it a point for, okay, how about everybody identify one thing you will do to recharge this week. So it's a commitment that
Mm.
everyone in the team will,
Wow.
do to ensure that that they are taking active steps to for their mental health.
Rest. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
a breath of fresh air. It's not about doing something for your business, but it is actually. But
Yeah. But
to
investing in yourself so that you can
yes,
then,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think the leader being vulnerable is so important. Yeah, I remember I'm seldom late, but whenever I'm late, I used to lie about why I'm late. I'll say that, wow, I was at a coaching session, then it overran, but in actual fact, I was late because I overslept. But I wasn't willing to tell people that I overslept because I felt I was setting a bad example. But one day I just felt so inauthentic and I decided to tell them. And I realized that they found me so much more relatable after that. Yeah.
Mm.
And I even told them I was lying. And then they were like, oh, like they they felt like I didn't have to, and I could have just told them. And then since then, we became a lot closer, and they were
Mm.
willing to be honest with me as well. Yeah. So yeah, I
Break down
think
the walls between the leader and
yeah. So
yeah.
anyone listening to this, I think the step one is to be vulnerable, and all the practices and everything will come. And I think that will be a good start to 2026 for us and our associates. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from the one-to-one point of view. So I'm leading an organization of 300 advisors now. So there are 21-year-olds who are super garang and they'll be like, actually, I don't need to sleep one. I can just chill as much as I want. There are 32-year-olds parents, new parents. They have 1-year-old baby juggling with the career. Their identity has been shifting. Like, should I be a full-time mom or should I? Because they can effectively don't go to office at all and just take care of their kid. So organizations and agencies, what are some things we can do to structurally support mental wellness through policies, cultures, or programs? Yeah.
I think the one of the very important thing is to be able to educate your employees about mental wellness. So
Yeah.
give them the knowledge so that they, will be then able to develop their self-awareness. Because if you don't have knowledge, right, you don't know what burnout looks like. You wouldn't know that actually you're experiencing burnout. So I think investing in training and workshops to build emotional literacy and resilience in your employee, I think that's very, very important. So it could be like workshops on self-care, burnout prevention, psychological first aid, for leaders to also maybe be trained in trauma-informed care or crisis management. All these are very, very useful. Then the other one would be maybe I'm not sure whether this is something already happening in AWM, but providing access to professional mental health support. So I think certain companies, they work with certain psychological practices to provide discounted
Yeah,
rates.
because it's quite expensive to get an
Yeah.
in-house psychologist. I explored before.
Yeah, it's very, very pricey. So,
Yeah.
even if it's for people to go outside to see private psychologists, that is also expensive. So if let's say the company can work with, some clinics to get discounted rates, that would also be really, really helpful for your employees. Then
Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's quite revolutionary actually to like I think it'll be a very heartening message if an organization does that to yeah, to show that the leader's stance is to support you to seek to seek your for your journey to improve your mental wellness. Yeah.
yeah, like it's not like a you go settle yourself kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we are really
Wow.
encouraging you to do this, and we are here with you. Yeah. And then also creating that psychological safe culture, like what
Mm.
we mentioned previously. And I think
Yep.
one thing that is also helpful is maybe appointing mental wellness champions.
Wow.
Maybe having one person, a small team who will, plan bonding days or self-care days or relaxation activities, facilitate relaxation, mindfulness relaxation, yeah, these kind of things. So I
Yeah,
think that
that's
would be
that's
very helpful. Someone to like, spearhead this initiative.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because one person cannot influence 300 plus people, and you need people on the ground who are singing the same song. Then it will become a culture.
Yeah, correct.
Hey, so training, partnerships perhaps with psychologists and
Mm,
clinics outside to lower the barrier of entry to seek help.
yeah,
Mental wellness champions,
yeah.
micro exercises like mindfulness that you said, and on top of that, leaders knowing how to create a safety for them. I think that would be a step in the right direction.
Mm, yeah.
Um, okay, we reaching the end of this interview would be so I realized that I only notice my associates are struggling towards the tail end when the signs are like alarming and very loud. Yeah, how can we practice early intervention so that, for example, January is coming. Many of them will be facing from running super hard in December, so they get burnout. How can we um, encourage early intervention so that associates feel safe seeking help before issues escalate. Ideally, I want them to already speak up before things get too serious. Or is it back to what we talked about where teaching them how to be self-aware about themselves,
Mm.
having structuring that conversation to come about so that they will realize it earlier. Yeah.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
anything else to add from there, or that's essentially what we discussed. Yeah.
I think pretty much what we
Yeah.
discussed. So maybe the workshops so that they have the knowledge of what burnout might look like and whether it's present in them, then creating that psychological space, you guys having the conversation, normalizing with them, and then the regular micro practices that will give them also a chance to always do regular check-ins with themselves. And then once they realize any changes or any changes in moods and things like that, then they can also like start to have those conversations with leaders so that y'all can discuss how you guys can prevent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess when we make it a culture and
Mm.
teach them also to catch themselves more often, these conversations will naturally come up more frequently. Yeah,
Yes,
and that
yes.
will then we will catch them earlier. They will catch themselves earlier, and we can also catch it earlier before things get worse.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to implement it, and we'll see how it goes. I'll update you. Yeah.
Very, very exciting.
Okay, so to wrap up, right? Two last questions. What's one thing you wish leaders in fast-paced industries like ours understood about mental health? Yeah.
I think one of the most important pointers would be I hope leaders know and always remember that, your employees are not machines and that, they are humans with emotions, with limits, and that, they're not just money-making machines lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just
and
milk
then
them to, yeah,
yeah,
work hard. Yeah.
correct. So, it's important to invest in your employees' well-being, and psychological safety so that they don't just feel, like they are valuable individuals. So then when they feel like they are valued and when they are motivated, they are well, the whole politically they are well, then, they'll stay longer, they'll be more productive, and then success will be more sustainable lah for you guys.
So
Yeah.
employees are not machines. Everyone is a human being facing their own struggles. And we need to first practice empathy and seek to understand instead of jumping to judgment right away.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, from what you said, to increase retention rate in companies, I think having such a culture would definitely increase retention rate because it's not about how much another company, what benefits they give you financially, but if this company has this open space and safe space for you to be vulnerable and to talk about all these struggles, you cannot find anywhere else a company that can do the same. Essentially, that will increase the retention in the company. So I think it's powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. So last thing. So if you could send a message to every financial advisory leader listening, what would you say about balancing care and performance so that they can translate this to themselves and their associates?
I think one of the most important one is rest is not wasted time.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's the fuel that really keeps you grounded and you will in the long run help you to serve your clients well as well. Taking a break doesn't mean that you lag behind or whatnot, but it will ensure that you have consistency in this industry lah. And also, I think ultimately reminding yourself that your self-worth is not tied to your production and your efforts, right? That your identity is so much larger than how much you earn.
Hmm.
But they also have so your value is so much more like you have value in like as a dad, as a son.
Relationships, impact you create. Yeah.
Yeah, so take care of yourself, invest in yourself as well.
And it is a lot more productive than we think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. So I'll also like wrap up this interview. It reminds me of this Chinese saying, cliche, but 休息是为了走更长的路. Yeah, with rest, you can go a lot further as compared to
Yeah,
just mindlessly chonging. And
yes.
one mentor told me long ago, like, we are the core reason why our business and our career is successful, but the core reason why our relationship is going well. So why are we neglecting ourself when we are the most important part of the equation? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, I think thanks so much for being on this interview. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it a lot because it hits home. Like I'm just thinking Monday I have some coaching conversations. I can really apply all these things. And
Mm.
I look forward to also transform our organization to be more supportive of mental health. And I hope everyone listening to this, it plants a seed in you to also do so. And that can improve the industry as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Thanks so
yeah.
much, Van. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for joining us today. If this conversation has helped you, please share with someone who might need it as well. And if you're someone who's struggling, please feel free to reach out to me or speaker if you need any support. So you can catch the full episode on YouTube and Spotify and follow us on Instagram for the short clips.